Welcome, everybody, to the Redzone Report right here on the Built in Buffalo YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter streams. It is brought to you by PLB Sports and Entertainment, makers of Josh's Jacks, the JA17 line of coffee, and the Diggs 14 line of hot sauces. Please enjoy the show. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Redzone Report. As we said in the intro, right here on the Built in Buffalo YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. You can catch us all week. We have shows all week. And today I have a special guest with me today, as you see the different layout. This is my two-man layout. Why? Because one of my friends here in Built in Buffalo, one of the guys who I was able to meet at the Red and Blue scrimmage, the return of the Red and Blue, the one and only Sauce God, Anthony. Here we go.
Well, gee, I don't know. You can call me, a special guest. I don't know about all that, Izzy. Of course, it's an honor and a privilege to be here with you in the Redzone Report. Now, obviously, not my first time here with you, Izzy, but it was obviously great to actually get a chance to meet you at Barbell Tavern and talk chicken wings and actually share a bucket of blues with you, which, man, if you ever get a chance to talk Bills football and you get a chance to share some blues with people, you had yourself quite a day. So, guys, do me a favor, show Izzy some support and show us here some support with Built in Buffalo. Make sure to like and share. We're going to have a kick-ass show. Izzy, I'm happy to be here, brother. Let's get it going, man.
Hey, I'm happy to have you, man. And, it was a pretty crazy week for me because I went up to Buffalo 2 weeks after going to Rochester for my aunt's 70th birthday. I love you, Titi. Happy birthday again. It's been a month, but whatever. I still love you. And then 2 weeks later, back up to Buffalo for the Red and Blue, and then met Lance, met Sauce God here, met freaking Shoop at the game.
Yeah.
We met Matt. We met him at the game. Like, it was a whole Built in Buffalo thing. Peter was there with his girlfriend. They came from Long Island, I think, right?
Yeah, and Peter's story obviously kind of like always throws me off a little bit. He was interning with the Patriots, but he obviously likes the Bills and covers the Buffalo Bills. So, it was a great chance to kind of vibe with some of the people that make the content here and put all this effort in to bringing the most entertaining and informative shows here for Bills Mafia. So, Izzy, real fast, I just want to ask you, aside from Bills stuff right here, what did you think of Anthony Richardson? I mean, I thought that I saw some flashes, for kind of going against a pretty good defense in the Buffalo Bills. What did you think?
He reminded me of young Josh. Like when Josh first came in, he's got a better surrounding cast than Josh had. So he looked a little bit better. But he had the errant throw to Dane Jackson, where it looked like it went right to Dane, right over the head of Isaiah McKenzie. I saw Isaiah McKenzie's interview where he said, I told him it was on me. I'm supposed to be on the same page as you, and if I mess that up, that's on me. But he went out there and he had a pretty good showing. He didn't score any touchdowns, but he moved the team up and down the field for the Colts. And as long as they surround him with the right pieces, I think he's got a chance to really do his thing and be a good integral part for the Colts. Now, I'm not a Colts fan, so I honestly don't care how good they do, but that's not me being apart from hoping that a young player has a good career on ahead of him. I hope he has a good career ahead of him, as long as it's not to the detriment of the Buffalo Bills, so to speak.
Exactly. As long as it doesn't interfere with our pathway, right? That's exactly what I told Davis Webb when I met him actually in Allentown. I said, good luck over there in New Jersey with Brian Dable, as long as it doesn't interfere with the Buffalo Bills winning a Super Bowl. Is that Buffalo Bobby there, is he?
Yeah, that's Bobby. Well, I call him Robbie. You call him Bobby. That's you.
I switch. I call him Buffalo Robbie, Buffalo Bobby. He tells me he likes, one this week, one that week.
Yeah, Robbie's great. He and I text all the time. He's a great kid. Loves to bowl. I'm sure I'd like to go bowling with him, but he'd probably kill me in bowling because I suck.
He bowls some phenomenal scores, and I suck at bowling, right? But he's texting me his bowling scores when I'm live in the sit down, and when I'm going to my getting saucy is when he tends to have higher scores too. So I love that. Love it. Good vibes in here, Izzy.
Hell yeah. No, we got a great crowd at Built in Buffalo. A lot of guys check out a lot of our different content. I'll go on some of your shows and be in the crowd and just interact with people. And I'll see, similar, fans for all the shows. So it's great to have some camaraderie and some esprit de corps among the Bills fans who watch our shows, and hoping to grow the fan base here at Built in Buffalo. But the game on Saturday, I didn't get to watch a lot of the first quarter. I was working, and then right as I was getting off work, the second quarter started, so I had to go back and watch highlights. So I missed some things, but I did see some other things. And James Cook, man, they have him as RB1, and he's looking like RB1. What do you think?
Here's what I've been saying is that I liked Devin Singletary. I thought that he was consistent when we asked him to be, but I thought that James Cook obviously was he's the future for this offense as the running back at one. And I think that he showed exactly how versatile he really is. I mean, if the guy averages 5 yards per carry, which he did, and scored a touchdown, then he's doing his job. But I would like to see the Buffalo Bills run the football more this year, just because I really believe that we're going to see a different level of Josh Allen if we have a run game that has to be respected and is per se in control of the game and in control of the clock situation. Because, man, if you can have a solid – look at the 49ers. They can pass the football, Izzy. They can pass the football, right? But they got a great defense, and they run the football very well. So I think that James Cook also makes you have to respect him in the passing game as well. The only reason, obviously, we didn't see Damien Harris is he had that knee injury. But I saw a couple flashes out of Latavius Murray. I think Latavius Murray's probably got too much mileage on him to really, bring any sort of pow. But there were a lot of receivers that I was paying attention to the most. So I can't wait to kind of get into that. But what did you think? James Cook, does he really maybe get 15 to 25 carries per game this year, or touches per se?
I'd say touches, yeah. I'd say 15 to 25 touches per game would be a safe bet for him. Latavius Murray, I'm actually really glad he's on the team right now, especially with the Damien Harris knee situation. They're saying it's just general soreness, but, he's had a history of injuries, so I like having two power backs. I'd like having two speed backs with Cook and Hines, but, unfortunately Hines had that, unfortunate accident on the water. But Damien Harris is kind of that in-between guy he's got speed, he's got power, he can catch up the backfield, and he can break big ones on you. Latavius Murray, though, you said you don't know about him being able to bring the pow. I think that's really one of the only things he does bring.
He's obviously going to be a downhill. I'm saying he had that 90+ yard touchdown run with the Raiders a long time ago. But still, I think we have fresh legs with James Cook, and I think if Damien Harris can come back and play healthy and he can get his maybe 10 carries and get his kind of like downhill type of rolling this offense, our run game is going to be more respectful. And not that our run game was ever anything to laugh at anyways, if you ask me. I mean, I just thought that when you have Josh Allen, you're going to obviously build the offense, cater to what he can do, because he is the offense. He is the system. But you still have to try and run the football, because what does Josh Allen do really well? Well, he plays and runs the play action really well. And how do you set up the play action? You have to set up the run. If they allow you to run the football 4 yards every single down, you run it and you keep doing it until they stop you. And so I think James Cook kind of showing that definitely shows a little bit of signs of that, and how our offense is kind of evolving and maybe maturing under Ken Dorsey. However, I'd like to see maybe more running out of the under center, the I formation. That's a back set rather than coming out of the shotgun so much. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I don't really know if I like the way that we come out of the shotgun just because of I don't think our guards pull well. And that's something I got to see kind of come and change a little bit, Izzy. But
Yeah,
overall, you know, there's a lot of good things to take away as far as the Bills running game, and that was one of the highlights I think for that first preseason game.
yeah. Sarah here in the comments, brought up Mims. He he was out there like he's trying to make the damn team. Like he's not conceding ground to anybody. And if anybody who is not one of the four dudes, or now it's three with Harris, with Cook,
Mm-hmm.
and with Murray, Mims is starting to make a case for himself. So I like him. He's not quite in the 53 for me at this point, but he's got two more preseason games to really leave no doubt. And that one play where he jumped over dude and then ran for another 5 to 7 yards after that, I was impressed with the kid. I liked him.
Mm-hmm. I think that the Bills definitely have a ton of depth, especially at the skill players area of the offense, and I think that that's a good problem to have. But ultimately, James Cook, you're going to have Damian Harris. Latavius Murray's got a shot at making it, but Mims is definitely making a case too. And ultimately, you want people that can come in. I hate to use the Patriots for any sort of example, but they had guys that were running backs, but they didn't necessarily play a traditional role of running back. You had like James White, you had Rex Burkhead, or I can't think of the other guys too, but they just had a couple of different types of backs, and that also opened up the system a little bit more too. Because one thing that Tom Brady did really well with New England was he didn't make the incredible throws; he made throws to almost every single receiver that was available to him at some point, right? That he spread the football around, so that the fact that Josh has that sort of option with the guys that he's got at his disposal right now is a good sign as well. I just don't want to see Reggie Gilliam going for deep fade routes. As Benjamin Shoop, he'll tell you exactly. We don't need to see Ken Dorsey. We're talking to you right now. I don't need to see the deep fade route with Reggie Gilliam, back shoulder fade stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Reggie Gilliam, he's faster than most fullbacks, and I think he's got potential to play that kind of Larry Centers role in this offense if they really want to use him that way. I don't see us dialing up too many fullback plays, but he has his place in this offense. He's a solid blocker, solid receiver. He's undersized as a tight end, but he's a little too tall for fullback, but he plays the role well in Buffalo. He's got good hands. I haven't really seen him drop anything. He's caught just about everything I've seen thrown his way. I think he could use a bump in the amount of touches he gets. But again, I like you. I don't want to see him, 30 yards downfield catching back shoulder fades from Josh Allen. I want to see him, getting the ball yards and then taking it, another 10.
I'm going to tell you the real winners of the preseason game it's not the starters, guys. It's the guys that here's the real winners. You got the CB2 battle. The guys that get those, amount of reps and those snaps they're crucial, right? And especially with those two competing the way that they have been in training camp, that's a big one. The guys that are competing for a slot receiver role position or return man position, guys like Andy Isabella, Hardy, Sherfield, right? Khalil Shakir. I think that the fact that you don't have Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen playing it just opened up the opportunity for these guys to kind of come in and get valuable reps and get a real shot at being looked at to see, hey, maybe can this guy play on this team? Because there's a reason Jay Kumaro stuck around for so damn long. You know what I mean? Because the guy did something that was worth being seen, and I think that we're seeing that come out of a lot of different guys. Now, Andy Isabella is one I want to go into a little bit, Izzy, and that's only because in the sit-down, Lance and I discussed that we would see a potential rise in stock from some players that you'd least expect. And for me, Andy Isabella was one of them. He had 3 catches, 42 yards. I like the way that he cuts. I like he's got speed that reminds me a little bit of Wes Welker in a sense, and he's tough. And I think that in Arizona, he never really got his fair shot. I think that he's always had the speed. He's always had the skill set. You just need a really good quarterback throwing to you. You need the right system and culture and, environment to thrive in. So I think that Andy Isabella has got a shot at making this team. I think that he had a really great preseason game, and he's had a solid training camp. But Khalil Shakir, he makes the catches, right? But I don't know if you guys saw Kyle Allen is scrambling to try and reach for a first down, and we all know that Kyle Allen didn't play very well at all yesterday, but here he goes to make a play and make the first down. Khalil Shakir, though, turned upfield and made a really, really good block to allow his quarterback to then reach and secure the first down. Now, that's asking a lot out of a guy that's 5'10", 6 foot. Khalil Shakir is not a big dude, but he plays like he is. He gets separation, and he does everything you ask him. And people still want to maybe not let him take that role, which I thought that it was his role to lose in the first place anyway. He's coming into year 2.
I agree. I think Khalil Shakir showed a lot of promise yesterday. He played well. He had the drop, and it was a bad drop. It was hard. It was a really bad drop, and it would have given us the first down and extended the drive. But second-year player, still going through it. Preseason game. He's out there trying to shine. I think that he would do well to just remove the pressure from himself and just play the damn game. I think that's where his downfall is. He's trying to do too much in those instances.
Yeah, but I do want to say this. I think, especially because I remember when Jamar Chase was a rookie and he had a terrible preseason. Everybody goes, "Oh, this is a trash pick," and I go, "Come on, you guys! It's like it's preseason, so don't jump the gun so much." Not you necessarily, but is what I say to people, because just because he's not doing so now, but it doesn't mean that he's not going to tighten it up, especially when it comes time to actually, get real game time. And that's something that I saw out of him as a rookie last season. I think that just the level of competition that they do have, like you said, it makes some pressure that he needs to alleviate for himself. But I think that'll all come just by, getting the action and getting those reps.
Yeah, I'm with you there. The preseason doesn't mean a whole ton, but, I think that when there's a competition at a position like where Shakir is going, he's got.
I love Roy Collins, by the way. Roy Collins is real G.
Roy is awesome. He's on every one of my shows. When I'm tuned into somebody else's show, whether it's with Built in Buffalo or somebody else, I try to interact with Roy in the comments because Roy's awesome.
I got to get his info so I can send him a Christmas card. I'm not even kidding. I got to.
That'd be awesome. If he's in Buffalo, you might be able to deliver it yourself. But I think that Shakir, the preseason, it can be overblown, and he's in competition, so he's, trying extra hard to shine, and you have to let that stuff come organically. That stuff's got to come organically. But the whole blocking thing that you brought up, that's situational awareness. That's knowing where you are at the time that you're there, recognizing what's going on in front of you, and then doing what's needed to be done in order to make that.
And not being afraid to do it.
Yeah. And then making it the best situation that it could possibly be in that moment. And blocking for Kyle Allen and allowing him to get that first down, that's a big play. It just goes unrecognized because it's a block and it's not flashy and exciting. It's freaking boring, to be honest. But when you actually sit here and you're able to break it down, X's and O's, and see where someone improvised to make the play better, he's outstanding at that. And last year, he had his one catch, I think it was against Pittsburgh. Up the middle, three defenders around him, goes up, gets the ball, first down. I think that he's got real good innate ability. He just has to zone it in. He's got to just
I also think that we need Josh throwing the football to him, and instead of a second or third string quarterback, and that could make the difference right there. I think Khalil Shakir is just, like I said, you have Sherfield, you have Hardy, you draft Kincaid, and there's been a lot of talk about him taking that reps at the slot receiver role as well. So I mean, for him, I don't necessarily think it's pressure. I think I just think it's part of the sophomore, slumpish type thing. But ultimately, I like the kid. I think that he's got that it factor, and I think that he's got this like little sense of reliability that when he gets his groove and he gets his level of consistency and his rhythm, I think that he's going to really be dangerous in a bigger part in this offense than people necessarily know.
Yeah, I think that he has big potential as well. And while I understand that Kincaid's going to take some of those slot reps away from whoever our slot receiver is, I don't see us lining up in 12 personnel all the time. I see us lining up in there more than usual. And you'll actually see him when we run like four wides. You'll see Kincaid out there as well, and he actually lined up at the Y this past game. He was out there wide, and I think it was a run play, but he got out there. He was doing his thing. Mm-hmm. They'll use Kincaid in many different ways. He's not just going to be the slot guy. He's going to play inline. He's going to play outside. He's going to play all over the place. You'll see him in the backfield probably some as a backfield receiver. I really like the kid, but I don't think that should take away from the slot receivers as much as people think it will.
Mm-hmm. And I think that Dalton Kincaid is just a guy that can kind of come in and he can maybe secure some targets that, with his sure hands that we are hoping to see that you need out of a tight end. And I think that that's one thing that Josh has had with Dawson, yes, but there are times where Dawson needs to be blocking in the run game, and there are times that we need a guy like Dalton Kincaid to kind of come in and ease that. So I'm excited to see that too. I know that we didn't get to see a ton of action out of Dalton Kincaid, but Izzy, I want to actually jump over to a defensive player here in a minute. But guys, we're here in the red zone with Izzy. I'm here, Sauce God on the Built to Buffalo Network. Let's get a like and share if you guys haven't done so, and let's keep these vibes going. Let's keep the input going too, Izzy. We got a lot of comments coming in so far, man. So I'm liking what I'm seeing.
That's how my show works, man. This is a very comment-driven show.
But I want to jump over to how are you going to make a case to get Taylor Rapp off the field? You know what I'm saying? Like,
because he looks
exactly
good. He looks really good. Like, he's all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of taking that Micah Hyde in Green Bay role where he's playing some linebacker, he's playing some nickel, he's playing some safety, he's playing deep, he's playing short, he's playing in the box, he's playing in the slot, or not the slot, in the flats. That dude can do everything, and that is a dangerous dude. He's a jack of all trades when it comes to the defense, and in this defense, I really think he's going to be a piece that you see blitzed quite a bit, and people aren't bringing that up so much. I think that Taylor Rapp is going to be a blitz piece in this defense. If you saw that game on Saturday,
but he could also drop back into coverage too, man. And he drops back into coverage. He makes tackles, and dude, I mean, that's just a guy that it's going to be hard to get him off the field. But he kind of reminds me a little bit of, like, I'm trying to think of like a linebacker that kind of played a little bit of a safety-ish. You know what I mean?
Mark Barron.
Yes, Mark Barron out of Alabama. That's right. And then he played for who did he play for in the NFL?
I think it was on the Rams.
Yeah. So that's a good one right there. Or a guy kind of like Eric Berry in a sense. Eric Berry was maybe a little bit smaller, but Eric Berry was kind of like a hybrid type of player.
That poor guy.
I think that's only a good thing because Micah and Jordan Poyer were both two guys that were injured last year. And if you have that, ability to let them take a couple plays off, then by all means. And he's got less mileage. I think that he was a really, really low-key addition that could be kind of like a little bit of an unsung hero. And he can play in the dime too.
Yeah, he can play dime. He can play nickel. He can play linebacker. He's done it all so far for the Bills this offseason, and I'm very impressed and very glad that they signed him. Very glad they signed him. And it's going to be hard to get him off the field since we don't have a true middle linebacker. So you're going to see probably whenever there's three or more wide receivers out there, Milano and Rapp out there at linebacker with either Milano or Rapp, signaling the rest of the defense, which Rapp is a smart guy. I don't know if you've seen his interviews. He's a really intelligent player. He could run with that role, and they might decide to go that way on most passing downs or downs where they're not really sure what's going on. But then on running downs, put in somebody like a Dotson who can go out there and just hit a hole and tackle. But Dotson did look very good.
See, now, I'm the type of guy that I like to think outside the box, right? When you have these types of caliber players and you have the amount of these types of players too, and you have just the opportunity to kind of switch it up, I would be out there trying to create some type of brand new defense, like a 3 safety set that's got, Taylor Rapp like the middle. You know what I mean? Like, there's things that I feel like we could just we have to make sure that we utilize him as much as possible because we don't want to waste any of that potential for what he could bring. But I do want to say, obviously, still that Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde are still the 2 safeties that should be starting for the Bills. And I want to get into the linebacker discussion with you in a little bit here, bro. But how about Demar Hamlin actually really making some solid plays and looking like he was no hesitation, no fear whatsoever, and including that 4th down stop that he contributed to as well?
Yeah, I was actually quite impressed with Demar Hamlin going out there and not being scared at all. There were plays in there where he was making the initial hit. There were other plays where he was, helping somebody clean up something. I was just happy to see him going on with his life in the NFL post that issue because that takes a lot of bravery. It takes a lot of cojones. It's a real fortitude to come back from almost dying, to come back and be like, you know what, the hell with it, I'm laying somebody out, and he did that just fine yesterday.
Strong faith.
So, yeah, strong faith indeed. And I think that him having his faith, having his family have his back, having the Bills and the players on the Bills and the coaches have his back, the doctors letting him know, hey, this is a one-off thing, you should be fine, and him trusting in that and not caring about the repercussions. Just, I'm gonna go out there and do me. I'm gonna be me, and I'm gonna light things up the best I can. And I think that he's basically, thus far, locked down that fourth safety spot. I think it's Hyde, Poyer, Rapp, Hamlin.
Well, yeah, there's no way on earth that Demar Hamlin is gonna not be on the team this year. It would be terrible for tons of reasons, PR, business, and for everything. But I think that Demar Hamlin showed yesterday. He played much better yesterday than I've seen him play in previous games. So I don't know. You never know. Sometimes that kind of stuff sparks something out of people where all of a sudden something kicks in. So what if Demar Hamlin comes out and he's playing at that type of level as well? I mean, hey, that's great because last year, I always say that I don't like to blame injuries ever, but injuries definitely derailed our season last year. So if we could really have some depth and true depth, it'd be great.
Yeah, I agree. And at safety, you never know because Poyer and Hyde have been dinged up quite a bit. And if someone gets dinged up, you want to have options. You want to have Hamlin and Rapp, especially if you intend on using Rapp in those roles outside of a traditional safety and say, God forbid Hyde or Poyer gets hurt. You can put Hamlin out there and still use Rapp in the role that you're already using him in. Because I don't see Demar Hamlin being able to run that same role that Rapp is doing with the versatility. I think Hamlin is pretty versatile, but Rapp is on another level when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm. So I see that comment right there too. I think that everybody in the world, including myself, thought that we were going to see Dalton Kincaid kind of get some, targets right away, give him some reps, right? Nah, don't do that. Everybody in the world expects it. You don't do it. Let the kid kind of ease in when you want to. And it's not that we're, keeping it off film. I don't think that has anything to do with it. And at the end of the day, people are going to see what he's going to do regardless. And I don't think it has anything to do with Josh being out there too. I think it's just because, I'm sure that everybody expected him to be targeted. So instead of letting him be targeted and, maybe get lit up a little bit or, maybe not necessarily come down with success in the plays that they go to him because of the level of people expecting it. I think that's just kind of a smart professional move too. That's just strategic in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And, putting stuff on tape, putting stuff out there, showing your hand. I don't think the preseason is for that. The preseason is to get your guys reps and figure out who's going to be on your team. And I think that, a lot of guys being on your team and figuring out who belongs where is more important than running your installation because you do that in practice. That's for practice. It's not for the world to see. And the Bills are.
When we talk about practice.
Yeah, we're talking about practice here. In preseason games, we ain't talking about practice. We're talking about you making a squad. You make the reads that you're supposed to make at your position to see if you can think on your toes. We're not sending you out here with an actual purpose. We're sending you out here with the play. You're on defense. We're in a cover 2 robber scheme. 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, 3 corners, 2 safeties. Run it. And let's see how you run it. Are you going to make the correct decision? And if the play is made by the offense, we're not looking at whether the play was made. We're looking at, were you in the right place? Were you doing your assignment? Was your 1/11th covered? If you did that, then fine. That's what it is. The preseason is not to go out there and try and practice the plays that we're going to actually try in the regular season. No, when we tried it out last year against the Rams, they had no indication what the hell we were going to do to them. And we boxed them up pretty bad. And that's I see that happening more this year. Like the Bills are not going to go out there and show any of their super shiny, super secret plays that you're going to have to deal with. No, they're going to go out there and run basic generic crap. So that way, when you go out there in the regular season, you have no idea what's coming. And
yeah, I mean, even the run plays.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, but I think too, we did see a little bit of what McDermott's defense defense is going to be more like this year in the sense that I believe it's going to be more aggressive and more violent, right? And I think that's a good thing. That's kind of what we need. And ultimately, you'll see even the Kansas City Chiefs, they'll unload plays later in the season that you just or like they wait till they play the Bills and they use those plays that that people don't know about because you use your ammunition when you need to. You don't shoot until you actually have a bunch, until you have a shot. So I think the Bills are just kind of going out there, getting a taste for it, getting a chance to kind of hit other teams and get a chance to kind of get that rhythm back and be out there with the fans again and get a taste for football, which is just a real contagious feeling.
Yeah. And football being back, man, listen, I'm on YouTube and Facebook and all these different things, posting up memes, me saying goodbye to my family because football's starting again, doing the Jake and Gyllenhaal. I'm happy football's back. And we're getting asked questions and, a lot of things right here, like this one here by Sarah again, who's been a great contributor this far on the show. But wouldn't it be better to get him game time practice in preseason rather than, I don't think so because it's very vanilla. It's very basic schemes here in the preseason. We're not doing anything complicated that where he's going to benefit from it like that. He's making the team. Everybody knows he's making the team. Let the other guys go out there and do their best to make the squad. I don't think that's important. But football's back, and, man, I can't wait for this season. And the best thing about it is that the media and most pundits are down on the Bills. So let's go.
Exactly. So let me give you a little quick shout out here, Izzy, because I'm happy to be your co-host here and be your special guest. I got to bring that energy. But you guys are live here in the Redzone Report, hosted by Izzy every Sunday and sometimes directly post-game for the Buffalo Bills right here on the Built to Buffalo Network's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And I'll tell you what, the Built to Buffalo Network is your source for entertainment and Bills content, Bills news, and everything that you need, much more. So make sure to follow us, like us, and retweet this on Twitter. Join us on YouTube. Send us some super chats to my guy Izzy. Let's show some love, and let's keep those comments flowing, Bills Mafia, because I'll tell you what, I like the opinions that I'm seeing. It's always great to see the Bills Mafia is well-informed about their football team. They pay attention. They're passionate. And, they're not just fair-weather fans. You also see your fair-weather fans. But, the people that we see, it's great to see that they are actually genuinely passionate.
Yeah. Look, I have a lot of guys who show up to my broadcast, and I don't do a whole ton of guests, right? Because when I do, it takes a little bit away from the crowd. But every now and then, you gotta. Just saw Akeem's comment.
Let's hope.
All right. So, but at the same time, every now and then, it's nice to have one of my guys on here, and especially Sauce, who brings so much freaking energy to the show. It's amazing to feel. And then during the season, I'm gonna have a guest on just about every show. So, yeah, not even a guest. I'm gonna be partnering with Akeem. So that's gonna be wild. But man, just the energy that you brought to the show is wonderful, and I appreciate that. So check out Sauce God. Sauce God, give him your show.
Every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, presented by Dove's Famous Wings, is the sit-down hosted by myself, the Sauce God, at Buffalo Sauce God across all social media platforms, and co-hosted by the president of Built to Buffalo and the co-host of the Buffalo Blitz on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Peter DiBiase, Mr. Mafia Montage, at Lance Nelson BIB. That is my co-host. And we have your coverage, all that much more, our usual segments, as well as getting saucy and maybe some stuff with chicken wings as well every Thursday night, 7 p.m., as well as available via audio podcast. And make sure, check us out. Stay tuned with Izzy as well.
And we got Akeem here in the crowd with us, too. So, yeah, love having our co-founder in the crowd. Dave is out with his family doing his thing.
Now, let me ask you a question, because this is where I really want to get your input, and I want you to kind of, inform me, right? Because I'm at a loss. I don't necessarily look at the level of competition for the middle linebacker position because it's just never been my area. I'm more of an offensive guy. I'm more of a skill player guy. In fact, I played receiver, right? So, does it look like Baylon Spector or Terrell Bernard to you? Or I'm sorry, is it Terrell Bernard, right?
No, Tyrell Dodson played. Bernard's injured.
Tyrell Dodson, my bad. Tyrell Dodson.
It's all good.
Tyrell Dodson or Baylon Spector. Who do you think? Or do you think that Dorian Williams actually has a shot? Like, tell me right now, you guys two in the comments, the middle linebacker position, who has kind of really got that leaning towards him?
So Tyrell Dodson was not very impressive. He actually missed a couple gaps on some plays. I was not impressed by his performance yesterday. I thought that it was lackluster. I thought that he, missed some assignments. I think that with Terrell Bernard being out now, you're going to have to bring Dorian Williams into the conversation. He's going to have to come into the fold to compete for that spot. Balin Spector, I believe, personally has a better grasp of the defense and is much more understanding of where he's supposed to be than Tyrell Dodson. But he's a 7th-round pick. Granted, Dodson's undrafted, but he's been in the scheme for 5 years, whereas Balin Spector is going into year 2. I think that Dorian Williams, even though he was playing Will yesterday, he looked a lot better than all other linebackers, other than not named Matt Milano. Anybody not named Matt Milano, Dorian Williams looked better than. And so maybe they start working him in now to see, because I was not impressed at all.
It's sad because, that was a thing that Sean McDermott and Brandon Bean kind of both said that they felt like was already addressed by, having Dodson and having, Spector there as well, because Dodson being there for 5 years and then, now Spector coming in year 2. But it never felt like that position was kind of wrapped up or locked up, because you lost it with Tremaine Edmonds. Tremaine Edmonds, whether he made mistakes or not, whether you think he was – yes, he was overpaid in my opinion. Of course, we had to let him go, but it provided it created a bigger hole in the defense than I think we were prepared for, to have a guy like Terrell Dodson or Balin Spector to kind of come in and try to take over. And because middle linebacker, that's the anchor of the defense, right? Is he? So really, I think Dorian Williams, he's young and he's fast. He's a prototype player. And if you really ask me, if you were able to put on the pounds, he'd be a little bit more like Tremaine Edmonds,
I'm actually a little offended by this comment here. Dodson stinks, just Preston Brown 2.0. Preston Brown was much better than Terrell Dodson. I'm sorry. Preston Brown was a starting caliber middle linebacker. He might have been like 25th to 32nd in the NFL, but he was a starting caliber guy. No. Zach Brown's a different guy. So he's got a band. Preston Brown was our 3rd-round pick like 15 years ago. Yeah. Preston Brown was a linebacker we had. He played for us for his first 4 years, and then he moved on, and he stunk up the joint, I think, in Cincinnati after play for us. But he played well for us, well enough to start. Dodson, I don't think is going to get many starts. I hope not. I'm not impressed. And I like him as a backup. If you need somebody to come in and play cleanup, fine. But starting, no, thank you. I think that Dorian Williams needs to be inserted into this competition as soon as possible.
Yeah, just because I like to get myself like hyped up a little bit about hypotheticals. Imagine a prime Patrick Willis on this football team right now to come over and play middle linebacker. You know what I mean? Like, we just really don't have, especially without Von Miller on the football field, we don't really have that anchor, I feel like, at this moment, and we need that. I mean, yeah, you got Matt Milano up there, sure, you got your safeties, but we really need that the linebackers to lock it down. So one of them guys is going to really have to step up. We have no excuses. We have our window. We have got to win a Super Bowl.
I agree, yeah, and the linebacker is one of those positions where it's slept on. Like running back, people are like running backs are a dime a dozen, and for the most part, you can bring somebody in and get good running back play out of them. Middle linebackers are a different animal. They're literally the guy in the defense calling the plays, changing things when they see something happening, telling people where they're supposed to be, and it's not a position that is purely physical like running back. It is a position that is highly mental. If you look at the greats, the Patrick Willises, the Luke Kuechly's, the Ray Lewises, those guys were very cerebral, very, very cerebral players who understood their assignments and the assignments of everybody around them on the defense. And the reason why it's important for your middle linebacker to be your play caller is because they can communicate with everybody from the spot that they're in the field. It's very difficult for you to have a safety or a lineman or a corner taking that green dot. You need somebody in the middle of that defense who can recognize and deliver the information appropriately to the rest of the guys around him. That being said, right here in this comment from T at the NYAP in the 716 Not Your Average podcast, Madam T of Built-in Buffalo fame, thank you for showing up. She asked a good question. Do you think that they'll get someone? Maybe. it's possible, but that person would have to be trained up in this defense. It's not a simple defense. Granted, there are plenty of linebackers out there who probably fit this scheme well, but as of right now, it's hard to see that in the future because we haven't gone through the final cuts of any rosters yet. So we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. And plus, we don't really have time to try to fine tune things. In week one, we want to be ready to go week one because we have to play the Jets. And, whether I want to say that they are overhyped or not, which I really do think that the Jets are, it's an important game. You want to come out, you want to set the tone early. You want to show everybody exactly why they need to shut up. And you want to also get ahead in the division. And this is a division that you could really argue to be the number one in the NFL for toughest. So, you just really need to come out there and you have to have your identity established immediately. And maybe with the players that we have, with like guys like Leonard Floyd, who are kind of, a linebacker, edge rusher kind of hybrid, Taylor Rapp, maybe this defense is kind of going to have those gaps filled and we just don't know it yet because they're not going to put everybody out there at once. Or maybe it's just something that we have to have guys like Von Miller out there for as well too. So I think that we just need to have everybody healthy. And when we have everybody healthy, then we can kind of piece together everything. And I think that we'll find a way to fill those gaps as much as possible. That's what we're going to do, especially if we are able to get to the quarterback fast enough too, Izzy. None of it matters. If we get to the quarterback, none of it matters. Coverage, none of that shit matters. You get to the quarterback, you stop the run early. There you go.
I could see a scheme where they go blitz heavy from the middle linebacker position, where they move, Dotson around if he's the guy, and you just blitz him most of the time. On occasions you let him read and react, but they're going to have to scheme around that if he's the guy. Also, one more thing. My buddy Jacob here, he has his own little channel where he's doing his thing. He just started. He's a young man, 18 years old. Spears Bills Talk on YouTube. Check him out. Great kid. And, just check out my guy there. But who's our linebackers? We don't know.
I was
Jake, we don't know.
Yeah,
we know Matt Milano, and that's about it. Yeah. What's we call it? There are some people in the comments talking about Rashaan Evans, who was drafted the same draft as Tremaine Edmonds. I guess he's 6'2", 232, was a first-round pick. I think he was with Atlanta last year that someone said here. He may be somebody to look at, but if they haven't picked him up already and he's a free agent, I'm not sure if they're looking that way. But they might start looking that way now because that was atrocious. I don't think linebacker play was good at all.
Exactly. So I think what I take away the most from yesterday is that the Bills are going to be, in my opinion, just fine with the level of depth that they have, the players that they have. I don't think that there's anybody that we really needed to add or, I know everybody wanted DeAndre Hopkins or we wanted just certain players via free agency. And at the end of the day, guys, we were able to still piece together this core. Brandon Beane did a phenomenal job bringing the majority of people back. And as long as we have a healthy team and we have our identity and we go out there and we just remember that we're the alpha dog, then I think that we're going to be just fine. And that this team it's bound to be successful. Sean McDermott being now the head coach and defensive coordinator and calling the plays back there really just puts everything on the line. And I think that it just puts things into perspective. And it's not the first time in Bills Mafia. You got to remember that it's not the first time Sean McDermott has taken over play calling for Leslie Frazier, either during a point in the game or during a point in the season. And now it will be obviously for the whole season. So maybe Sean McDermott really has the keys that we need to see our defense kind of come up in those areas. If the offense especially plays more consistently, because, man, we got to just put it all together, all three phases. And when we do that, and I've seen this team do it. We've all seen it against the Patriots in the playoffs, against the Broncos, to clinch the AFC East for the first time in however many years, and against the Miami Dolphins that same year too. This team has everything that it needs. It's again staying healthy and its identity, and remembering that Ken Dorsey is now a year 2 offensive coordinator. We have to give some people time to learn to adjust to the game. And Brian Dable needed the same thing. Now he's a head coach.
Brian Dable now a head coach. It'd be good for him. He had a year last year. Did he win Coach of the Year?
I don't know, but he was cracking open cold ones at the owners' meetings at 10 a.m. Like he was the first one cracking them open, but I think he was coach of the year. So yes. And
Good for
granted,
him.
because he knows how to design offenses, yes, but that's what Ken Dorsey probably had struggled with a little bit last year, was figuring out when to run with Devin Singletary, when to run with James Cook, when to give the ball to Josh Allen, when to let Josh Allen do his thing. There's a lot of things that go into it. You got to go to Stephon Diggs. You want to go to Gabe. There's a lot of things that go into it, and really a lot of things that went and kind of derailed us that were out of our control too. Izzy, like the amount of attention that we had, the amount of favoritism that was being placed on us to be Super Bowl favorites, right? And then obviously with Demar Hamlin and what transpired with him too. So, I mean, the level of distractions that we had outside of football, you just hope and pray that we get lucky, because you got to get lucky. That's why it's so hard to win 2 fucking Super Bowls in a row. And that's why we haven't seen it in how damn long is he,
we haven't been in a Super Bowl since 1993. So, yeah, it's been a while. And you break it down, right? The way you broke it down right there is pretty eloquent, because going to 2 in a row is hard enough. And we went to 4 in a row back then, and we lost them all. But
winning 2 in a row, we haven't seen winning 2 in a row. Patriots.
Yeah, that's not. Look at Mahomes. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. He goes to the AFC Championship game every year, but he doesn't go to the Super Bowl every year. And not just that, but just the sheer gauntlet that you have to go through, as tough as it is. Teams are doing their damnedest to catch you, and not just catch you, but beat you. No one saw the Bengals coming until they drafted Joe Burrow. That changed everything. No one saw us coming until we drafted Josh. It was a whole lot of nothing going on until you get.
Even then, nobody saw it coming at that point.
Yeah, and even still, the Colts are in that situation right now that we were in with Josh rookie year, with Anthony Richardson his rookie year, and there's so many different factors that go into it.
Salary cap is a big thing. Obviously, injury is a big part of it too, and then retaining guys for a certain amount of years as well, because the Seahawks were able to get to the Super Bowl twice, and they won one of them because they had Russell Wilson under a rookie contract. They had Earl Thomas under a rookie contract.
My guy said we weren't answering his question. He's out. We're gonna get to the DBs. We haven't gotten there yet. So if you're out already, then sorry. We'll see you, maybe next time. But we haven't got to DBs yet. We're kind of working our way down. But we'll
Atom Bamasudo is in. Who is that? Who is that, by the way? I see that. Bills fan 1970.
I'm not sure.
Well, that's me. They're referring to me. I don't know who it is, but hey, God bless you. Of course. Sauce God, we love you. Izzy, I think we got to get the D-backs here.
Yeah, let's talk about the D-backs, because Dane Jackson, a lot of people are like, Dane Jackson's made a case to be the number 2 corner. I'm like, he had a ball thrown directly at him. Like, if he didn't catch that, he'd not be the starting corner. Like, it would guarantee him not being the starting corner. Like, he caught an errant throw. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. With Khair Elam being handsy, and Dane Jackson, he got that interception, so that doesn't hurt his stock. But I don't think it helps his stock as much as you would think it does. And Benford didn't have a great game either. He played pretty average. I think that CB2 slot is still wide the hell open. And we did talk about DBs a little bit with Taylor Rapp, because he's kind of doing everything. But when it comes to corners, man, I don't know. They didn't play Taron Johnson in this game, right? And they didn't do that because Cam Lewis is already hurt. So his backup is hurt. So you don't want the starter to get hurt too. Now you have no slot corner. You want to have a nickel back. And, Taylor Rapp could probably take that spot too, but you have bigger plans for him. So you let some other guy go out there who's going to be the guy trying to make a name for himself, which I'm sure that guy's happy for his opportunity, whoever that was. But you also want to do some sort of self-preservation with the guys who were thin at their spot. Saran Neal took, a lot of snaps at nickel, and I think that he looked good at times, and he looked garbage at times. He was kind of a mixed bag, and it shows why he's a special teams guru. He good on special teams, good tackler, but coverage is kind of meh. I think that CB2 is still wide open, though. What do you think?
Now, it's great that you actually we're talking about this right now, because this comment was actually just brought up. Now, both Khair Elam and Christian Bedford both had holding penalties. Yeah, a little questionable, maybe perhaps for both of them, sure, but they were just handsy plays, and um, it is wide open. They both seem to play kind of at the same level. It hasn't seemed to. One day it kind of leans towards Kyer Lam. One day it leans towards Bedford. But at the end of the day, we drafted Kyer Lam in the first round last year to be the cornerback too, and I think that this is just a great thing for this team because iron sharpens iron. So this competition is only going to be a good thing for whoever is going to be that CB2. I think at the moment I'm gonna lean towards that. Kyer Lam will become CB2. I think he's going to find his groove and kind of settle in, kind of like I thought he did a little bit more in his rookie campaign last year, especially in the middle and later part of the season last year. So I think overall, at the end of the day, you got 2 games left in the preseason, and that's great because these are valuable snaps and these are opportunities for these 2 young men. So we're going to have to see who's going to come out on top.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you kind of disagree with me, but not the point. I think that again, it's wide open at CB2. The safeties are, to me, safeties are already basically a lock. We're keeping 4. It's Hamlin, it's Rapp, it's Hyde, it's Poyer. That's it. If they keep a 5th safety, they're going to take that spot from somewhere else. Then we're talking about Cam Lewis versus Dean Marlowe, which Cam Lewis is both a slot and a safety.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a huge fan of Cam Lewis at safety, but this offseason and this training camp, he's kind of proved me wrong on that one. Last year was his first time tinkering with that in the NFL, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good. And last year, pardon my French, I said we saw Cam Lewis at safety and never effing again. I didn't swear. I was going to swear, but I kind of pulled it back there. Never again. He's proven me wrong on that in camp. We'll see how that looks in the season, but he's a guy who can double as a corner and a safety, so he's a guy that you can actually keep on the roster where you're not really losing a spot somewhere else. So I actually kind of like Cam Lewis to make the roster this year.
I'm going to find the answer to this, by the way, just in a moment, because that's actually a really good question from John Robert.
I know the
wanted
answer.
to find that. But yeah.
I know the answer.
Yeah, you do?
The answer to this question is, so after week 3 of the preseason, there is one cut down straight from 90 to 53. So that bye week between week 3 of the preseason and week 1 of the regular season is when all 53 men have to be selected and the rest have to be cut, practice squatted, waived, depending on their contract situation, whether they're still in their first 4 years or beyond. So it is that week between.
Okay, yeah, excellent. Because honestly, like I figured that it was probably at that point, but you get the great comment right here from Kenny. Because honestly, yeah, I say that we draft him in the first round, and essentially you'd like to see the guy that you draft in the first round become, exactly what you drafted him to do it for that, for the team, right? So, but overall, yeah, whoever's playing better, it should be the guy that's playing. It doesn't matter where you're drafted. But at the end of the day, I think that it's going to be Kyer Lam because I do think that his development is going to be it's something that I definitely have seen. I've seen him come out in strides and definitely grow, just kind of similar to the way that Tre'Davious White did in his rookie season as well. So it'll definitely be very beneficial to the kid to have a healthy Tre'Davious White out there opposite of him, and have Taron Johnson out there, and have healthy safeties, and have a healthy defensive line that's getting after there. Because hey, the defensive backs can be the best in the world if the quarterback gets sacked, right? If the quarterback has 2 seconds to throw, defensive backs are fine, because the longer you got to stay on your man, that's what makes it tougher. That's why Pat Mahomes is one of the best, because he extends plays for so long, and that eventually you can't blame the guys, right? That's why it's so crucial to get to the quarterback as well. So I want to get into your opinion here on the defensive line, Izzy. Do you think, even with the absence of Von Miller at the moment, what do you think of the state of the defensive line with guys like Greg Rousseau, A.J. Epinesa, Poona Ford, and the likes of such?
So I actually think Epinesa has been doing a pretty good job. Yesterday, Boogie Basham made an appearance and started looking, like he was actually fighting for a spot on his team. And I'm happy for that. Shaq Lawson's kind of looking like the odd man out now, that Boogie's, really putting it together. Although I do like Shaq, and if we kept 5 defensive ends, it'd probably be Boogie at this point and Shaq fighting for that last spot. Rousseau he didn't see much time, and Floyd didn't either. It was mostly Epinesa, Boogie, Shaq, and the rest of the young guys. Shane Ray was out there. Boogie made the biggest case for improvement yesterday. Epinesa was steady Eddie. Defensive tackle wise, Tim Settle came to show out. Tim Settle was not playing any games. And here's the thing. People are like, Tim Settle's probably going to get cut. I highly doubt it. He carries.
Tim Settle, I thought was going to – last year, I thought he was going to have a better year than Daquan Jones. Daquan Jones had the better year, in my opinion. But now Tim Settle's kind of coming out, and he's playing better too. So, and Sean McDermott loves to have that rotational option for his defensive linemen. And right now with no Von Miller, you definitely have to have ways that you could still find, the holes and gaps so you could still be as violent and still be as, deadly on the defensive, rushing the quarterback. So I think I like the fact that we got Jordan Phillips out there as well, too, is a good thing. And Ed Oliver obviously out there doing his thing. And at the end of the day, man, I just think Shaq Lawson, he's the kind of guy that also likes to you have to make a case to get him off the field as well, too. He makes use of his plays, and he's so good stopping the run as well. And I thought that, we did a pretty solid job against the Colts, who definitely have some playmakers out there, with some of their receivers and some of their backs, right? No Jonathan Taylor, sure, but the way that our defensive line played yesterday, especially Tim Settle, he definitely did crush it yesterday.
He crushed it, and a lot of people were, before the game, because now people seem to be resurging his praises, right? They're coming back to Tim Settle. He might be a guy. The likeliness that Tim Settle was going to get cut is highly unlikely, in my opinion. And the reason for that is because he carries like a $5.3 million cap hit. That's a dead cap hit if you cut him, because you restructured him. So now if we cut him, we don't get much back in return. It's a minimal return to cut him. So do you want to have a guy that you just released who's got a motor like no other? Skills-wise, last year didn't show out that great, but the motor was there. You want to pay him $5 million to not be on the team, or are you going to just eat it and see? Because right now he's showing, I want to be here. And so with that, I want him here because he wants to be here. And he's putting it out there on tape now. So
it's kind of like when somebody goes to get themselves a job. The people that call and follow up with the employer are usually the ones that actually get the job because they show them that they want to be here. They want this. They're dedicated. They ain't doing it just to impress other people. They want to be there.
Well, it's not just that, but Tim Settle, he's kind of got us by the balls for this $5 million. He could go out there and for lack of a better term, shit the bed. They cut him. He gets his $5 million, goes somewhere else, and makes more money somewhere else. He could do that, but he's not.
Tim Settle, don't you dare think about doing that.
Yeah, he wants to be here. He's showing he wants to be here because he could do that, and he's not. He's going out there and he's trying to prove his point because he wants to have a nice, steady, long career, even if it's only as a rotational guy. So with Tim Settle, I see him being on his roster. I see it being Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, Poona Ford, Tim Settle, and if they keep 5, Jordan Phillips.
Amen to that. I like that, and that's great rotational depth. And ultimately, it's a lot of the same guys playing next to each other for the last 2-3 years now, which is really very, very important for those of you that don't really realize in the world of football that continuity with your offensive lineman and your defensive lineman is truly very important, because playing next to a guy with the way that they move, the way that they get upfield, the way that they move downfield, the way that they move left to right is huge, right? So these guys have now got a couple years under their belt with each other, some of them 3, and that's huge, right? So if we can have that much more of a veteran presence too with that defensive line, and we can kind of see more reliability with them as well, that's huge, especially when it comes to stopping the run and it comes to getting the quarterback. And, that's right there. If you can kind of have the defensive line be that elite and be that good and be that versatile and be able to adapt to the situations, then that's going to make up for the lack of maybe a premier linebacker such as a Tremaine Edmonds, or maybe, a premier quarterback too as well.
Yeah. Quarterback too is another thing we got to talk about too, because the Barkley versus Allen thing is
Barkley
it's
loves to do it, dude. He likes to mess around, and he likes to say, whoever thinks that they're going to be QB2, he likes to mess around and play better. But he looked good, and he looked poised, and he's always looked poised ever since he came in for the Bills, and he actually played. What was it, against the Jets? I think it was Allen's rookie year when he was actually out with an elbow injury at that moment, and we had Derek Anderson that year. But that was exactly. So I think that Matt Barkley is so poised.
Barkley looked the Jets up that game.
Matt Barkley was a premier college quarterback at USC too. He was a Heisman candidate, and it's crazy that his NFL career didn't pan out to be anything massive, but really good dude. And so what happens? Yeah, obviously you're going to keep Kyle Allen. You can't get rid of him, right?
But they can, because his contract's not too different from Matt Barkley. But if Barkley keeps outplaying him, he may find himself on the practice squad in Barkley's role the last couple of years. I don't see a big market to go out there and try and steal Kyle Allen away. I see him, either being the winner of the QB2 job or on the practice squad like Barkley would be. I think those are going to be his real options, because the last few years he's been kind of sinking lower and lower that NFL totem pole of free agent quarterbacks. And so now when you put him on the practice squad, like John Roberts just said in the comments here, new rule, emergency QB, all three will be dressed. So if something happens to Josh and something happens to Barkley, then you can bring Kyle Allen in. Or if something happens to, Allen, and then Barkley's on your practice squad, the same thing. So it's really a interesting new rule. I like the rule, but the competition for backup quarterback is a real thing, and Sean McDermott really confirmed that in his interview today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think overall, it's a great thing that we're talking about quarterback 2 versus quarterback 1. We're not talking about a quarterback 1 competition. You know what I mean? So we're blessed in that regard, right? Thank you. But no, Matt Barkley looked much better. He just had more time. Kyle Allen just kind of has seemed uncomfortable this whole training camp and preseason. He did, Steve Tasker, I heard at one point saying, I rewatched the broadcast here at home, and he says, he doesn't seem like he's willing to kind of step into the pocket and take some of those, bumps and bruises and those hits at this moment. Maybe he's just not really accustomed to it at this moment. But I think, Matt Barkley definitely has more familiarity as well. It's ultimately, at the end of the day, Kyle Allen is kind of reminding me a little bit of Case Keenum last year. We expected Case Keenum to kind of really take over. But really, Matt Barkley made himself a case as well. So to be the quarterback 2 last year. So at the end of the day, we're looking solid as far as our receivers. We're still, obviously, there's a position battle going on for receivers, the slot receiver role. That's huge. So I want to really know from you guys out in the comments, and you too, Izzy, that who's going to be the primary slot receiver, and then if there's going to be like a secondary slot receiver, who do you guys think 1A, 1B, who those guys are going to be? Right now, my guess is going to be Khalil Shakir, and I'm thinking possibly Sherfield, but I'm seeing good things out of Hardy too. It's a tough case,
So I'm with you on the Shakir. I think Shakir will be the primary slot. Of course, Gabe Davis and Steph Diggs will be the primary outside receivers. Sherfield has been making a lot of noise. And so,
dude, him and Josh Allen have an undeniable connection. I've seen it in training camp that they've got a real connection on the football field.
They do, and the role I see Sherfield in is not necessarily the same role a lot of people think. They're saying he's wide receiver 3, and I would say, yeah, he's probably wide receiver 3, but that does not necessarily make him the slot receiver. Mm-hmm. In my book, if Davis or Diggs comes off the field, Sherfield is the number 1 guy to go in there and replace one of those 2 guys. Yep. If it's just if it's a run play and you need a better run blocker, you take Diggs out, Sherfield goes in. It's Sherfield and Davis. If someone gets hurt,
kind of like a 2B.
Kind of, yeah. It's like, so if you're running your first drive and these guys got 6 plays already ran and one of them's tired, you're gonna take one out. You're gonna put Sherfield. He's gonna be the primary backup to Diggs/Davis. He's that guy. He can play in a slot too, but I think that at some point that's gonna be a waste of his time. Unless you're running the ball indefinitely. But then again, Shakir is a good blocker. So you wouldn't want to do that because then you're giving it away what you're doing. So you just run him out there whenever Diggs or Davis is tired, run play or pass play. And then you let the chips fall where they're made because he is working his ass off, obviously. Josh is taking notice. The coaches are taking notice. His peers on the team are taking notice. And anybody who knows how to really break down film that has seen what he's doing in camp and in practice is able to realize this guy right here has potential to be an outside receiver, potentially starting number 2 somewhere, even if it's not here. And he's going to go out there this year and earn it because he's out. If it was just for the slot job, he probably already beats Shakir and Hardy. But I think that the role for him is going to be bigger than that. I think his role is going to be much bigger because of the presence of Dalton Kincaid also being in that slot. You don't want to have too many mouths to feed in one spot. So who's your backup outside guys? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I do know now. It's definitely Trent Sherfield.
And then there's definitely been cases where we've seen offensive that have had high power passing attacks where they've had kind of like once in a while you'll see a third receiver have statistics or kind of take over the game as if they were like, you know, the 1A of the team. That's something that I've been kind of talking about, this whole dynamic of the possibility that we're going to see a level of like Larry Fitzgerald and Anquan Bolden type of year from Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. You know what I mean? Those types of receivers where it really, you know, you could argue which one you want at 1A for those two guys, right? But, you know, then you throw in a third guy. I forget who that they had a third receiver who was also really good as well on their squad. And that's what I'm talking about. Yep.
John Brown?
No, I don't think it was John Brown. I can't remember who the hell it was.
In the desert.
I don't know, but anyways, at the end of the day, I like what we have from those guys. Now I'm also very curious to what do you guys think of the offensive line play thus far, and how do you feel about the guys we got going forward? You know, obviously, we heard that Spencer Brown has looked a lot better because he's supposedly healthy. He did have an injury scare. It looks like he's okay. But, yeah, you know, we talked about that a little bit, myself and Montage, that back injury could really, really affect the way that you play the offensive line position. So how do you feel, Izzy, and everybody out there in the comments as well?
So what I heard about Spencer Brown was that he didn't actually re-injure the back. From what I heard, he was having cramps. And I heard that from the Capaccios, the Perinos, who have the inside, you know, pull with the team, that they can get information that we necessarily can't as, you know, independent journalists, so to speak, right? So it was cramps. It wasn't really a back injury. And him going out there and playing the way he's playing now is proving that. Also, Osiris Torrance got the start yesterday over Ryan Bates. And Ryan Bates took snaps as the second center. So that is an interesting development and a very different thing that we're seeing than we saw in training camp. What do you think about that?
I think I'm not surprised. Ryan Bates, you know, he got hurt in Miami because of the cramps and the dehydration, and he never really seemed to get it going after that point. He seemed to kind of be hobbled all year. And at this point, Osiris Torrance, we drafted him in the second round, and I like that draft pick almost. Me too. No knock on Dalton Kincaid, but almost more than I like our first round draft pick. And I liked what we did in the first round. Don't get me wrong, I liked what we did in the second round a lot, though, because it's an area of need, and it's a stud that I think could really bolster up this offensive line in both the running and the passing game. And Lance talks about it all the time. Montage will tell you that, you know, we can pass block really well, but we need to learn to run block a hell of a lot better. If you break down the film, you'll see linemen that are missing easy blocks when they're pulling, and a guy that's half their size, and they're just whiffing on them, right? So
especially last year.
I also know there's the inconsistencies with, we don't know what's going to happen with Mitch Morse in the future. He's obviously had so many damn concussions. You got Deion Dawkins, really, who should be playing left guard, but you know, we have him at left tackle because he's our best offensive lineman. But if we could have Spencer Brown locking down that right tackle position, it kind of does surprise me, because I thought Brandon Shell was going to kind of come in and maybe take that over, but it seems like Spencer Brown has stepped in. But now, if we have that offensive line looking solid, I'll tell you what, man, it makes the world of a difference for what this football team is going to look like, in the way that the offense is going to kind kind of correct. It's going to kind of right the ship itself, you know.
And I'm actually pretty glad that Spencer Brown is kind of not relinquishing that role. He's not out here, woe is me, my back was hurt last year. They brought another guy to compete with me. Like he seems to be stepping up with the competition. He seems to be getting better with the competition, which to me is very important because when they bring in competition, are you going to be the sissy who folds under pressure, or are you going to be the big guy, the big dog who steps up and says, no, this is my damn job and you're not taking it. And last year I was hurt. This year I'm not. You want my job, you're going to have to pry from a cold dead fingers, buddy. And that's exactly what Spencer Brown's doing. He's going out there and he's eating as good as he can. And I like it. I love that dog mentality. Osiris Torrance is going out there and he is, winning reps with the first team in the first preseason game, which says a lot to me. Ryan Bates taking that center spot, that says to me that he's seen as that versatile guy who, even if he doesn't start, we can play him anywhere. If somebody gets hurt, with Mitch Morse's history, he could get hurt. If McGovern doesn't turn out the way we thought he could, he can switch over there. There's a lot that could be done with this offensive line. You have David Edwards as well.
You bring up a good point real fast that I wanted to kind of really dive into and just before I forget it, because it's great to see that, like you said, we have guys that when they bring in the competition, they don't bitch and moan, they step up, because you could take the punches and you could sit there and cry about it and do nothing, and you'll sit there and you'll never get any better, or you could sit up and you could do something about it. You could fight and figure out a way, because in this world there's no excuses, there's only solutions, right? So it's good to see that, but it's good to see that we don't have players complaining to the media, I want out of this team, they take my role away, yada yada. It always seems to be that these guys have nothing really but good things to say, and that's the culture that has been brought here. And I bring it up as many times as I can. It doesn't matter if we're talking preseason, because culture is so huge with this the entire thing that we're doing at One Bills Drive, that none of this matters with the way that we play football, or none of this matters with the way that our team is built, unless we have that culture, which we do. So I like that we have competition and depth, and we are definitely building a level of a caliber that reminds me of like a 50 caliber machine gun, man. That thing is going to be heavy, powerful, and that thing is just going to be nonstop. You know what I mean?
I love the M2, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm saying, hey, we might have to get an M2 Abrams out there as well. So.
No, M2 machine gun.
No, M2 Abrams tank.
M2 Abrams that's a big.
Well, no, I know with the 50 caliber, but I love me a nice Abrams tank. That's kind of what reminds me of, like, with some of the guys that play on the offensive line. Especially Osiris Torrance. He's like a tank.
That boy is like that dude's a tank of something. I tell you that. That dude's a monster. Run downs. James Cook is gonna be singing the praises of Brandon Beane. Thank you, sir. Thank you, because you got Roger Saffold out here, addition by subtraction. You bring in
that was a disappointment.
Oh, Jesus Christ! But
it was such a disappointment.
I love that we're on the same page about these players stepping up with competition coming in the door, as if it wasn't coming, not having weak ass constitutions, and going out there and saying, you know what, the hell with it. You want to compete with me? Fine. Let's play the damn game. Let's do this. And that to me is far more important than a lot of different things that some of these players have. The willingness and ability to go out there and say, to hell with it. Let's go. Let's put the gloves on. Let's see what we got. Winner take all. And yes. Yeah, I'm there with you.
Great stuff, man. Hey, real fast, I want to give you guys a fast, quick shout out. We're live here in the Redzone Report, hosted by Izzy every Sunday, and I'm his co-host, his special guest, the Sauce God, the host of the Sit Down. Izzy is, of course, on Twitter. Where can they find you at, buddy?
I am at TFP Rican, which stands for That Freaking Puerto Rican. On Twitter, you can find me on Facebook by my government name, Ismael Monero Jr. And then right here on Built in Buffalo on YouTube every Sunday. And then occasionally you'll see me guest starring with some folks. I'll be on Tuesday, the Buffalo Blitz, because our man Montage can't make it. So I'll be on there with, I think either Montage can't make it or Peter can't. One of them can't make it. So I'll be on Tuesday.
Excellent.
Check me out there. And look, let's just enjoy the ride, man. The season's
exactly
2.5 weeks away. Let's Right? It's actually still 3 weeks away because we have that bye week in between. But who cares? Let's just enjoy the ride because this season the Bills ride under the radar, and I'm just hoping we take some scalps with us on our way to the Super Bowl. So let's go.
And this episode of the Redzone Report is presented by PLB Sports and Entertainment on the Built to Buffalo Network's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And if you haven't already done so, ladies and gentlemen, do us a favor, like and share. Send in some comments on YouTube, super chats, Facebook, stars on Facebook. And if you're watching on Twitter, well, do us a favor, retweet this, follow us, then come over to YouTube and join us and subscribe to us. Make sure to turn those notifications on so you don't miss the Redzone Report or any of the other live content or any of the content coming from Built to Buffalo, the best damn source for Bills content and entertainment.
All right. So what else we got to cover?
Well, I think ultimately we got the Steelers coming up, and and that's really what we're kind of all looking at next. How we're gonna go against some guys that are they got some good receivers over there, and I expect that they're gonna definitely put out. George Pickens is definitely gonna probably get some playing time. Yeah. I think Deontay Johnson too, because he's got to clean up his game. Freiermuth, Najee Harris, and Kenny Pickett coming into year 2. And he looks to be the guy there. He looks to have definitely assumed the role of quarterback 1 over there. So I'm looking at that. Overall, though, I think, Izzy, that the things that I take away, Demar Hamlin making some great plays. We have depth in areas that, makes it a good problem to have. I think that this defense is going to be a level of ferociousness that we are not seeing, and that's a good thing to have Sean McDermott calling the plays. I think that we have more potential in a guy like Dorian Williams that we just have to realize. We have to find a way to incorporate them, and we have to find ways to make use of the talent that we have, right? And that's kind of what I'm seeing. We got a lot of talent out there. I think right now Khalil Shakir also owns that slot receiver role, and I think Andy Isabella is making a case to make this squad, whether it's in the return game or whether it's actually seeing the field for some snaps too, because I like what he brings to this offense. And also, hashtag let James cook, because he is going to make this offense that much better if we can just establish the run game with him and let him be the identity that he needs to have established right away as RB1. Because last season, him and Devin Singletary were kind of going back and forth. That's going to be tough. You don't know who really you're going to go. It's like then next thing you know, you're throwing Matt Breida in the mix when we had Zach Moss a couple years ago. No, we have James Cook. He's RB1. Damian Harris, RB2. We know what our identity is. Let's go in, just take care of the football, one play at a time, move it, play defense, just play a clean game of football. And I think that's exactly what this team needs to do.
We had too many miles at running back. We had too many miles at running back to feed. For a bunch of years. We had, Singletary, Moss, and Yeldon. And then we had Breida come in. And then it's too much, right? Right now, Yeldon. I think we have a nice little spot. We're doing our thing. Who was most impressive to you in the game yesterday? Who stood out to you?
Honestly, it's crazy, man. But I got to say, Matt Barkley stood out with how he only had, one incompletion. I think I got to give you a couple players for sure, but I think Demar Hamlin really, and it's not just because of the fact that he played, it's because I really thought that he played a great game. He didn't over pursue. He was there when he needed to be. No hesitance whatsoever. He was just, I thought last year he was getting burned, and I love Demar, but he didn't play exactly the greatest level of what we needed him to be at last year, especially with the injuries we had. But I thought yesterday he looked different. Maybe that's exactly what's brewing him in. Maybe he's got the eye of the tiger in him. So I thought that him and I also liked what I saw out of Andy Isabella and Khalil Shakir. I think that overall those are the guys that definitely had me turn my head in that first preseason matchup, which was definitely still very exciting, even for it being preseason.
I agree, yeah. Matt Barkley was definitely impressive to me. He was 14 of 15, 172, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Yeah.
That's probably a perfect passer rating. It doesn't say it on here at ESPN where I'm looking, so I'm definitely got the website up.
I'll pull it up.
To me, the most impressive guys were Tim Settle, Jordan Mims, and Andy Isabella. Andy Isabella and Keyshawn Johnson both had 3 catches, 42 yards, but Andy Isabella took one for 30. He caught the ball, and he got yards after the catcher. He got that yak. So I'm glad to see that Andy Isabella went out there and did his thing. Tyrell Shavers, to me, he had a rough first half.
The rating was 154.0. Isn't it 158.3 for a perfect rating?
Yeah, That's perfect. Yeah. So
Still, I mean, 154. He's pretty damn close.
It's pretty freaking close. So, yeah, I was very impressed with Matt Barkley. Tyrell Shavers, he had kind of a miserable first half. But the second half, where he had that touchdown, that go-ahead, to me, some of these other receivers are really pushing for that sixth receiver spot that we all pretty much assumed Justin Shorter was going to get. I'm not so sure about Shorter now because he hasn't shown me anything. So,
I mean, we haven't really ever heard much noise coming out of out of his direction because we do have a lot of guys that have, obviously have the experience. And Justin Shorter is still obviously the type of guy he's a development type of player, right? You know, he's got the physical, he's got the physicality, he's got everything that you want as far as that, but some guys got to develop their skill set and they got to develop the position and their craft a lot more. And I haven't really seen much out of Justin Shorter other than the fact that he's big. And I think that this offense just kind of really has too much commanded in so many different areas that it's going to be hard for us to find a way to get him incorporated. I mean, what do you need? You know, you have Stephon Diggs who can get separation. You have Gabe Davis, who's a physical big receiver as well. You got Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, who are tight ends. Those are your red zone threats as well. And then you got guys who are speedsters too, that it just is Justin Shorter really going to be exactly what we know? Maybe he's the type of guy that we develop him in through the practice squad, and maybe he gets a kind of chance to get some valuable reps in playing time that he could down the road develop more into the type of receiver that really the type of receiver that you want him to grow into is a DK Metcalf. The size that he has is very similar to that, or Julio Jones, that type of guy, right? Big physical guys that have speed and athleticism, but he's definitely a work in progress. And I don't necessarily think that we're going to see anything big out of him this year, but yeah, definitely it's great to have him as a rookie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, Patman and Aitman look good too. So the depth at wide receiver was pretty good. And then freaking running back Mims, just that one play again, it just sticks out of my head where he catches the ball, he's running on the sideline, jumps over a dude, keeps it pushing. Like I think he's a guy who's interesting to make the team. But I think that is our show today, sir. How are you feeling?
Right, man. All excellent.
Right. Everybody, you can catch me every Sunday and during the regular season post-game show. You can catch Anthony right here every Thursday night on the sit-down with the Mafia Montage himself, Lance.
Yep.
Guys.
Real fast,
get it.
Guys, check me out on all my social media platforms, YouTube channel at Buffalo Sauce God, Facebook, Anthony Bomasudo, and my TikTok at Buffalo Sauce God. All my social media, basically, and I also got a website, www.buffalosaucegod.com, chicken wing reviews, merchandise also there too, and I'm usually live doing all sorts of content, entertainment, not just Bills stuff as well, guys, but also Bills always get incorporated too, so guys, check me out as well, and make sure to check out Izzy every Sunday night, and make sure to check him out with the Buffalo Blitz too, man. Izzy is one of the more... Hey, like I said, one of my favorite show hosts that I see for any sort of content out there in the world of sports. So, guys, make sure to follow, turn on those notifications, like this, and don't forget to share it so other people can get this content as well, and we can spread the word. Built in Buffalo is booming, baby.
Hey, and when you go to Buffalo, go to freaking Bar Bill and get you those Cajun honey butter barbecue wings.
Woo! And any beef on whack, baby.
Oh, look, he ordered. I wanted the full size beef on weck. I'm glad I didn't get the full beef on weck because I was full.
I crushed 20 wings, man.
Dude, I couldn't believe when you did because I'm fatter than you. So,
hey, but it's funny too because Izzy goes, "Hey, you're much taller than I expected." Everybody thinks that I'm 5'6". I want everybody to know I'm 6'1", 6'2" on a good day. All right, so hey,
I thought I was gonna walk in and be like, "Hey, what's up, Anthony? How you doing?" And I was like, "Oh shoot, how you doing, bro?
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing? Don't hurt me." Right.
Great stuff, man. Thank you for having me on, Izzy. God bless you, man.
No problem. God bless you too, brother. Everybody, you guys have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. Enjoy your families. Enjoy this week. Enjoy the Pittsburgh game. See you Tuesday. God bless and go Bills.
Go Bills.